Hey, what's going on, everyone? I don't know who's going to join me this morning. I normally do these on Saturday mornings, but man, it was a packed week, and I had another commitment yesterday morning around 9:30, and then I cover Michigan football to the extent that I can. So the game was coming on at noon, and it was just too much. So in those instances, I asked myself, can I move this to Sunday? And I think most of you all are not the I don't know how many of you are churchgoers or what you're doing on Sunday mornings, but I think some of you are at least willing to come along for the ride on Sunday morning should it shift to Sunday morning. Yeah, things are just busy here. Most of you know that I'm a Fed. I'm going to be discreet about that, and there's a stoppage of government activity right now, and my particular group is has been exempted for now. I should be really, really discreet about that. Long story short, I'm not on the short vacation that the other federal employees are, so I had to slog into work every day this week on the metro, and by the end of by Friday night, Saturday morning, I was drained. So I decided to move it to today. So shout out to Tony. You're the first one in. Good morning. Thank you for being here, Tony. And UFO Kamikaze, I'm sure you'll have a gander of what I'm going to talk about this morning. So today I'm going to talk about a discussion on the new Rose Sparks erectile dysfunction medication. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but they're all these infomercials. Well, they're not infomercials. All these commercials on YouTube now about Rose Sparks and hymns. Okay. And I was thinking on Thursday in a meeting at my day job, what am I gonna talk about for this week's science stream? And then I said, oh, why don't I talk about that? Because I can approach it and I will approach it from the pharmacology angle, but I also have some personal stories and uh, messages to share about this whole about Rose Sparks and hymns and those kinds of things. So I think this will make for an interesting discussion. My brother Amal Dunbar is here, so we're gonna do another Black History inventor before I get into my main discussion. And I probably won't do a stream next week because I'll be traveling and taking care of some family business. So you guys probably won't see me next week. Anyway, let me play the intro and then we'll jump in. Tony says, I get a lot of emails from hymns trying to sell them. Yeah, this is a whole economy now. This is a whole thing now. The erectile dysfunction, the premature ejaculation, the lasting as long as you can. But it's as I'll describe, it's a much more complex gamish than those commercials um, lead us to believe. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side of my nameless protagonist introduction. So I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I think this is the significance of when you say the technology is running so far out ahead of the biology, right? Because it's almost shattering that part of our natural um, programming.
So what's going on, what that really talks to is the reason why it's done that way is our systems operate on a seniority based modality. So the older the particular system we've adopted, the more powerful that neurological pathway and impulse. That's why these studies are critical. Everything in our biology is predicated on these kinds of principles. The reasons why we were able to evolve as a group, because there were certain things that we were able to lean on from the group aggregate existence that allows for us to do things as individuals that are defined as healthy. And when you begin to do wholesale swapping out on a one-for-one of social modality versus technological introduction, then you begin to atrophy a lot of these things and you start having deficiencies in ways you had no idea, or you get unintended emergent behavior, as we're seeing with the behavioral sinks, for example. It's all connected to social roles, in my subjective opinion.
Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Science and technology stories are all around us, and there are always science and technology stories to tell.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and well, I think those of you watching and those of you tuning in know who I am, and if the algorithm has brought you here, that's who I am. And I do have a research background in pharmacology and toxicology, and so this is not a title that I'm just um, throwing out there just to make myself famous, okay, or just to try to make myself famous. I do have a background in those disciplines, and as I was listening to the nameless protagonist just talk about the modalities and our programming and in his voice, I was just reminded of these online spaces, the internet. It gets a bad rap for the information, for some of the information that it spreads, but also there's a whole world here that people on the outside just don't know about. And so I'm gonna share something after I bring my brother Amal up, and just to kind of drive this home. And I think yeah, this will be a fun way to start our discussion. So let me welcome up my brother Amal. What's going on, bro?
Good morning, bro. Good morning,
Morning.
bro. How are
So
you?
good. How are you?
Good, man. Good to
Before we
be
get
here.
into, sorry,
Good to be here. Thanks for
good to
having
hear.
me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back. So um, to drive home the point I just made about this is a whole uh, sea of information and knowledge that people on the outside don't know about. You know that, bro. You know that in a couple of weeks I'm going to have when I do a Q&A with Jeff St. James. We'll just call him anonymously Uncle Ice.
Okay.
He watches my community posts on that channel, and he says, at the risk of sounding not intelligent, who is this person, doctor? Okay, so
Fair enough.
I mean, he he's not Jeff hasn't made it on to any of the mainstream news outlets yet, so I shouldn't we shouldn't clown too hard for that. But I think it's interesting that for the important points someone like Jeff is raising and talking about, uh, uh, well, that generation, they just don't know who that is right now. And he's not a fraud or a shyster, or he's actually credentialed and he's talking about some meaningful things. So that will be an interesting piece to share with the family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
That's going to be for our family, for those in our family who choose to watch your upcoming interview with Jeff St. James. It's going to be eye-opening for them. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. We'll be sure to get your question in there as well. All right. So this morning, uh, you want to talk about Lewis Latimer, okay? And he is one of the many Black inventors slash innovators that you have highlighted and created artwork on. So I'll cue Mr. Latimer up right now, and I will pass the mic to you.
All right. Thank you, bro. It's good to be here. I just want to start, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that some of the earlier photography of Black inventors may or may not be accurate. I've seen this picture used as the as a biopic for several male Black inventors. Hopefully, this is the actual picture of Lewis Latimer, because of his contributions, because of his associations, especially with the Edison Light Company. This should actually be his picture. The AI did create some really nice artwork of or for him that displayed his many inventions and also his co-produced inventions. Um, uh, Lewis had a knack for creating structural items in the environment, like uh, clothing racks and book supports. You know, he was good at making frames and brackets to support the items that were in your environment. He also co-produced several items that we use today. So I will start at the beginning. Lewis Howard Latimer was born September 4th, 1848. Just to give you an idea of when he was born. He was actually born during slavery or during the tail end of slavery. But Lewis Howard Latimer was an American inventor and patent draftsman, which is a very specific skill. I do have some background in that. I did do the patent drawings for my patent, so I can relate to him from that aspect. But this gentleman created so many things that are in our modern day environment. His inventions included the evaporative air conditioner. He improved a process for manufacturing carbon filaments for electric light bulbs. He co-produced an improved toilet system for trains or railroad cars. In 1884, he joined the Edison Electric Light Company, where he worked as a draftsman. His home, or the homes that he designed, the Lewis Latimer House, is located near the Latimer Project at 34 to 41 137th Street, Flushing, in Queens, New York. Once again, let me just highlight some of his co-produced patents. He co-produced an improved toilet system for trains. He co-produced the electric light bulb. And yeah. So some of his individual patents were the process for manufacturing carbons for light bulbs, racks and stands for hats, coats, and umbrellas, book supports. I'm sure, there was a time when, books were so heavy, it would have made sense to develop a support to support a book, and also improve systems for light fixtures. So, Roy, if you can scroll through some of the artwork. Yeah, the AI artwork came out pretty good. They presented him as an older gentleman. So, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, some of this AI artwork came out pretty strong. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's a little futuristic with the hovering holograms. Next slide, please. That one came out pretty strong too. So, ladies and gentlemen, much of this artwork will eventually wind up on T-shirts, and that information will be provided as to where you can find them and purchase them. There will also be some giveaways on this channel as well.
Okay. Is this the last one or is there another one?
That's probably the last one.
Actually,
Ah,
that's the last one.
okay, okay, good to go.
Okay. Well, I've seen the yeah, those are all very powerful art pieces. This original black and white, I've seen this quite a bit myself. I might have flashed this one here before myself, but yeah, thank you for doing this. I might sound like a broken record, but we don't hear about these people enough. And growing up in Buffalo, the the first time I heard about Lewis Latimer was through KRS One's "You Must Learn." Okay, it wasn't in the school system. It wasn't at any of our church Black History Month programs. I mean, there might have been Black children's books at that time, but that's the first time when I heard, because he said Lewis Latimer made improvements on Edison, so that means he must have helped to optimize the light, the what is was it, the filament, the light filament. I'll just call it the light filament.
Yes,
So he had his hands on that, though. Thomas Edison gets the credit for the entire thing, and I think that speaks to the some of the historical aspects of hip hop music at that time. It's changed quite a bit, but also the importance of knowing who these people are, because I think that most of our imaging, at least for Black people today, is of athletes, entertainers, politicians, clergymen. Those are the main archetypes that are highlighted in pop culture. So uh, you almost don't hear about these people, and as you described, or as I asked you to gently talk about the person who recently got unalived, uh, it's important to have the know these things about your race and your people when someone wants to promote just the negative statistics of what your people are doing or have done.
absolutely. And just to add on to that, it seemed as though Lewis was very good at looking at pre-existing technology or pre-existing IP and figuring out how it could be improved. Now, sometimes for people who have, you know, developed their own technology, developed their own intellectual property, want to hear about someone else's ideas about how uh, your your product can be improved. So as far as Lewis' ability to analyze something and improve it, that is a specific skill, and it should be highlighted that just because someone has an idea for an improvement, it doesn't mean that's not an insult for someone's original idea. His improvements led to job creation. All of these products had to be designed, manufactured, and shipped. So from that perspective, he just wasn't creating new products or improving new products. He had a significant hand in creating jobs.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, and I think this I'll make this point, and then I'll move on. Yeah, a lot of innovation is taking someone's idea and improving it. Like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they didn't invent the computer; they made it better. They
Yes.
came up with operating systems and softwares and that improved upon what was already there. So a lot of times the person who, yeah, a lot of times it's not creating a thing, it's making it more effective and more it's making it more effective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. Is there anything else you want to share or say about Lewis Latimer or anything else?
No, just that he probably through his associations with the Edison Light Company, um, he's a bit more famous than some of the others. But still, his ideas, his concepts, his innovation led to the creation of hundreds of thousands of jobs, past, present, and future.
Okay.
That's all, bro.
Well, all right, bro. Well, thank you for coming up, and yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you later.
Peace. Peace, peace, peace.
All right. All right. So that was Lewis Latimer. For those of you who don't know, that's who Lewis Latimer is. You could do more research on him. I suspect the guys there in the chat, you know who Lewis Latimer is and what his contributions were. Okay. So we're gonna transition now. Michael. Michael, Michael, you make the rounds. I feel like I've seen this picture on several channels. Okay, maybe even on Facebook, but you certainly make the rounds. Thank you for being here. Gigami's here as well. All right, you guys are gonna probably have a gander of this one. So before I hop into the sermon, shout out to Minister Jap. Before I hop into the sermon for this morning, let me just say that my backgrounds are in pharmacology and toxicology, so that's basically drugs and toxicants and what xenobiotics do to the body. And I'm wearing one of my University of Michigan pharmacology t-shirts, okay? But the University of Michigan Department of Pharmacology is not doing this live stream. So I'm not officially representing the University of Michigan Department of Pharmacology. Okay, I'm giving my own commentary, I'm giving my own thoughts. So I wanted to put that disclaimer out there. All right. So I have a lot to say this morning. I should be able to get this done in about an hour, 45 minutes. I'm going to use UFO Kamikaze's chat here as a jumping off point because I think it's a very, very appropriate jumping off point. Guys, please smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you want to donate something to the channel, that information is there in the ticker. I'm not monetized over here, so there's no super chat. So UFO Kamikaze says, never used erectile dysfunction meds and never needed it. Occasional failure to perform could be God's protection. I'm going to read that again. This is profound. Never used ED meds and never needed it. Occasional failure to perform could be God's protection. So I'm going to come back to that never needed it principle right there, and I'll be digesting the occasional failure to perform could be God's protection. And as I'll describe, I think let me say something about that occasional failure to perform. Let's see. Our lives are complex. Most of us work. Most of us have stressors in life. Most of us have demands on our lives. Okay, and all of those things, most of us aren't just laying around with most of us aren't just laying around with time for sexual intercourse, even though maybe in a perfect world we would just have time to just lay around and do that. But most of us have other things to do and think about besides just that. So as a teaser, I mean, there are so many things that impact your performance. I'm going to get to that as well. In any case, I was thinking on Thursday, what do I talk about this week on Big Discussions 76 Science and Technology? And then, like a light bulb, we were just talking about the light bulb, it just came to me. Oh, okay. I've been seeing a lot of commercials on YouTube about Rose Sparks and about hymns. Okay. So, male medications for erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. Okay. So, I have some thoughts on that. I mean, we're going to unpack the science just a little bit, but there are a lot of other things involved in that men in particular need to think about. Okay, because as UFO Kamikaze said, never needed it. So the question is, does a given man uh, need that type of medication? Because that medication is not free and it comes at a cost. And there are so many other things in our lives that impact whether or not you quote unquote need something like that. So a quick refresher for you biologists in my chat. You let me know what you think about any of this. This is a science channel, so we have to go over some of the science, some of the biology. So a quick review for you guys. You guys know we're a heterosexual, we're a sexual species, right? There's a male and a female, and each of us has different reproductive organs. Okay, men generate sperm, women generate eggs. Human women typically generate one egg a month for ovulation. Okay, and a woman, her biological reproductive window goes approximately from 13 years of age to 49 years of age. So she can, even though she is quote unquote perimenopausal in her 40s, and scientifically, this might get me in trouble, but scientifically, a geriatric pregnancy starts around 30 years old. She can keep having children. It might be harder, but she can keep having children up into her late 30s and into her 40s. And I think there are some miracle cases where the woman can have a child in her 50s, or women have had children in their 50s. And now with technology, they can do that. But we are a sexual species with a male and a female, though I think though what we know now is that there are also birthing people. Shout out to Corey Bush and everyone with the womb, everyone with the uterus can have a baby. Shout out to the woman from uh, uh, Revolt. Oh, that's the picture, not the drop. Hold on. Here it is. If you have a uterus, you can have a baby.
Oh, okay.
Only women can have babies. I just want to let you know that.
Interesting. There are other people who can have babies.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if they have a uterus, they can have babies, but they just might
Right.
not identify as women. Those
Okay.
are two different things. Like you can be biologically female, but you can't be biologically woman. This woman is a gender construct, a
Okay.
social construct. But if you got a
Okay.
uterus, yeah, you can have a baby.
Yes, that's the point. If you have a uterus, you can have a baby.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we
Period.
agree on that.
Okay. That that's something that this whole gender construct thing. If you have a uterus, you can have a baby. Anyone who has a uterus, if a male has a uterus, he can have a baby. The whole Mark Lamont Hill thing. These are things that we weren't dealing with and discussing 60, 70 or more years ago. Things that have kind of confused things, uh, made this more difficult than it's supposed to be. We didn't have all these things years ago. And also the other thing I thought about leading up to the stream is that we didn't live as long 60 to 70 or more years ago. Now people are living into their 70s and their 80s and their 90s. The life expectancy used to be lower. Okay, so with the life expectancy to be lower, then these biological systems that we have, these were intended for reproduction, not necessarily for pleasure and performance. Okay, we are in an era now where, yeah, reproduction is a part of it, but now, and especially with the pill, oral contraception for women, and all kinds of other contraceptives, It's now about also pleasure and performance. Okay. And it's different for men and women. Okay. It's different for men and women. A man has um, our organ, our piece, our pistol. For us to perform, it has to stand up. It has to stand up. Okay. And so, in a way, it's more, our performance metrics, our performance measurements are different. Okay. Because the male, his pistol has to stand up. Okay. And if there are problems with it standing up or not being as firm as it could be, or if it stands up and falls back down or comes somewhere in the middle, it likely draws more criticism than the woman's performance indicators. Okay, so it's two totally different things. So one of the things now, especially in the post Sex in the City era, in the post Girlfriends era, in uh, uh, the way our society has become more secularized, there's a huge premium and a huge emphasis on performance. How long can you go? How strong is your eggplant? How erect is your eggplant? How long is your eggplant? Okay, I think at some point it became 6 inches became the metric. Okay, it became the golden fleece. 6 inches. How long does it hang? That's in some of our rap music, some of our hip hop music. Okay. So all the emphasis has become on performance, not necessarily reproduction and family formation. Okay. So with that, now there's an industry. Okay. Now there's an industry. And right around the time I was in graduate school, that's around the time that Viagra was discovered. Okay. Viagra, this is actually the actual chemical name of it, of the molecule, is actually sildenafil citrate. That's the structure there. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the blue pill, the magic blue pill. This was initially designed. I think Pfizer was looking for a cardiovascular medication to treat hypertension or something to that effect, and they discovered the side effect of it, which is often how many scientific breakthroughs are how they come about. Things are found by accident. So they were looking for one thing, and they found that, oh wow, this drug, it really makes men's shooters stand up and stand up for a while. So this became very, very popular. Okay, so once one company identifies a target, other companies jump on board. So eventually you had other alternatives like Cialis, or the active ingredient is called tadalafil. Okay, that's the structure for tadalafil. That's Cialis. So these are going to be the main two players we're going to talk about today. I have some comments here. Okay, thank you for these good comments. Tony, this goes back to UFO Kamikaze's comment about whether or not you need it. Eating bad food and lack of sleep can lead to ED. Yep, those are two contributors. UFO Kamikaze says the occasional failures to perform could be protection from STDs. Yep. Unwanted pregnancy or false accusations. Yep. Gigami says biology is greater than ideology. Okay. UFO Kamikaze says been drinking only water for the past 16 years, never had an issue with blood flowing anywhere. That's an excellent point. UFO Kamikaze, I'm going to get to that. Gigami says the dysfunction can also be the results of psychosomatic effects of seriously troubled mind state. Overstressed environment can have negative consequences on one's metabolism. That's correct. All of these things play a role. Okay, and these are things that I thought about when looking at the Rose Sparks commercial and the Hims commercial. because the way they frame it, the way they always frame it, is that there's something wrong with the man. There's something wrong with the man. He needs this medication. Oh, my husband, he has performance anxiety. He's not lasting long. You know, he's not this, he's not that, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And then you ask the question, okay, if our bodies were made just for reproduction, were we ever meant to have sex for hours and hours and hours? Was that ever the way it was supposed to be? Or is that something we as a culture and society have evolved to? Okay, so what is Rose Sparks? We'll start there. And then I have some points that I'm going to get to, and then I'll wrap the stream up. So you guys have probably seen these commercials or the Hims commercials on YouTube, because they're on YouTube all the time now. So this is a Rose Sparks review. This is from Inner Body. Inner Body. Okay. And it says Rose Sparks combines high doses of 2 effective ED medications. Our team reviews it to see if it's right for you. So I think that's the package that it comes in. And again, it says it's a mixture of 2 ED medications. So once again, this is a mixture of Viagra or sildenafil and Cialis or tadalafil. Okay, it's a mixture of the two. It's a formulation. All right. So I'm going to read just a little bit of this, guys. Okay, erectile dysfunction is incredibly prevalent, affecting around a third of all men in the United States. For many men, small doses of Viagra, Cialis, or either of their generic active ingredients aren't quite enough to tackle their ED. You guys keep letting me know what you think there in the comments section. Increasing the dose is one option to improve outcomes, but there's also evidence that combination therapy, in general, Viagra and Cialis taken together might be a superior choice of monotherapies, not as first-line treatment for men with ED, but perhaps for those whose ED treatment is resistant. Rose Sparks is a combination of ED medication that puts together both generic equivalents of Viagra and Cialis. Sparks doses of each medication, sildenafil and tadalafil, respectively, are high enough that either would work well on its own for many men. For those who need a little extra medication to achieve an erection, the 2 doses in combination should get the job done. But there are increased risks associated with combining these higher doses. But are there increased risks associated with combining these higher doses? And is the combination approach a good place for men who haven't yet tried erectile dysfunction medications to start? Our research team investigates the science to find out. Okay, so they gave it a 3.4 out of 5. All right, and this says for men who need more than a single erectile dysfunction medication can offer, the combination of 50 milligrams of sildenafil and 22 milligrams of tadalafil in Rose Sparks presents a strong option that may provide better results for some patients who did not see enough benefit with monotherapy. The fact that it comes as a dissolving sublingual tablet adds a layer of convenience, at least in theory, removing the need to chase it with a glass of water. However, the tablet takes a little too long to dissolve to be a truly convenient option. Even if the sublingual delivery lets the medication take effect more quickly, in the end, Rose Sparks is a niche product for a subset of men with ED who may certainly benefit from it, but it's not the best place to start for men who are new to ED meds. If you've never tried ED medications before, learn about better starting points using our comprehensive guide to the best ED treatments. So I'm going to briefly read these pros and cons. So it's, the pros, it's a combination therapy. Combination therapy should increase efficacy. Average dose of sildenafil, a high dose of tadalafil. So it's an average dose of sildenafil and a high dose of tadalafil. The tablets dissolve under the tongue. and it may take effect more quickly than traditional tablets. Okay. The cons: the tablets take up to 10 minutes to dissolve. Okay, and a higher dose of tadalafil may increase side effect risks, and the cost per dose is on the high side. Okay, I'm not gonna read all this for you guys because you guys probably don't want to sit and listen to me read for the entire time. Uh, but that's the gist of it. Uh, let's see. Michael says Shannon Sharp. Really? Okay. Well. He said Shannon Sharp was a spokesperson for Roe Sparks. UFO Kamikaze says a woman with a bad attitude will definitely trigger ED for me. She's crazy if she thinks I'm taking meds to counter her behavioral dysfunction. So UFO Kamikaze, you're telegraphing where I'm going. You are telegraphing exactly where I'm going. So that's what it is. And just if you guys want some biochemistry, there's an enzyme class called phosphodiesterase. And so I even had the anatomy here for you guys. Hold on, for completeness. Where is it? I know the picture is in here because I created it. Let's see, pharmacology. All right, let's start from the top. All right. Okay, I'll know it when I see it. Okay, endocrine, enfamil, HDL, LDL, hemolytic anemia, nephropathy. Sometimes these pictures are staring you right in the face. Because you're live streaming, you can't see them. Mouse Utopia, nephron, neuron. It should be in here with the P's. Ohm's law, orbital shaker, oxytocin, peacock, Percy Julian. All right, well, I thought this was going to be easy. All right. I need to show this picture. Guys, bear with me for 1 second. Let me go into my records here. And what I will do so that there's not so much dead space here, I will voluntarily say, I will voluntarily share that I've tried uh, both of those pharmaceuticals. I've tried both of those, not because I have ED or that I've ever had it, but the reason being is with our lives, with our lives being so busy. Okay, fatigue. I think one of you guys alluded to this. Fatigue and being tired, that plays a role in your ability to perform, to do the dance. And sometimes, much like a track star, I'm thinking about Ben Johnson or a baseball player like Barry Bonds or Mark McGuire. Sometimes, if you're tired, you need a little boost. I mean, some people use that stuff, use those medications for that. If you need a boost and you need a little mm, to, on a night when your lady wants to do the dance. And uh, uh, for younger men, that's where that could be helpful at some point, if even if you don't have ED. Okay, give me a second here, guys. All right. D Scott says, "Yo, welcome, D Scott. Thank you for being here." Michael says, "UFO kamikaze facts. A bad attitude won't get any zucchini from me." He says, "Go Big Blue." Thank you, UFO kamikaze. T Riddler likes to clown my Big Blue. All right, let's pull this picture up. All right, here we go. This is how your shooter works. It's all blood flow, guys. It's all blood flow. You have a superficial dorsal vein, dorsal arteries. Let's see, a deep dorsal vein, deep arteries, the corpus cavernosa where the blood pools. That's what makes your shooter stand up. A spongy urethra, and then a corpus spongiosum. And this is a complex piece of tissue, gentlemen. And so, since we're also in the era of transitioning, I don't think there's a way to artificially make one of these. So if you have someone who wants to transition to being a man, how do you possibly give that person one of these? Okay, but that's a rhetorical question. But my point is, and what I want you guys to see, and what I learned when I went through my uh, Odyssey 15 years ago, it's all blood flow. Okay, so as we progress in age, I've been talking about diet and health lately. You want to make sure that especially as you progress in age, that the plumbing is working, your heart, that you don't have high blood pressure, that you're eating as many fresh fruits and vegetables, and you're doing things to continue. You're doing things to make sure that the blood is flowing the way that it should through all parts of your body. You want to make sure you have a small waistline, that you don't have a lot of belly fat. Okay, because those are indicators of low sexual function for men. Okay, it's blood flow. Okay, so if that's working, if your blood flow is working, okay, then you should be on good footing. Okay, so let's go back to UFO Kamikaze's very erudite comment here. He says, a woman with a bad attitude will definitely trigger ED for me. She's crazy if she thinks I'm taking meds to counter her behavioral dysfunction. Okay, so story time. So what UFO Kamikaze just described about 15 or 16 years ago, Dr. Dunbar went through something like that. I am going to be discreet here. I'm going to choose my words. Okay, I'm going to choose my words. And this is what triggered me to want to do this live stream when looking at the Rose Sparks and the Hymns commercials, because there's so many parts to intimacy. Okay, we're not dogs, we're not squirrels, we're not birds where we just arrive at a season where it's time for us to reproduce and do the dance. Human beings are complex. We have culture, we have social media, we have music, we have jobs, we have educations, we have family stresses. There's so many things that impact that type of interaction between a man and a woman. Uh, and these are things that go beyond just, here, take this medication, and then, pay us $1,000 for this medication or this treatment because you have erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. There's so many other things that impact that. And one of the things that impact that are your partner. Okay. What is your partner like? Okay. Do you and your partner have a healthy relationship? Okay. Does your partner talk shit to you? Excuse my French. I usually don't curse, especially not over here. Is your partner working you? Is she constantly stressing you out? Are you guys arguing all the time? Is she slick at the mouth? Does she talk greasy? Shout out to Jason Black. Do you have that type of partner? Are most nights filled with fighting? Okay. Because if they are, that lends itself to a dysfunctional sex life. Okay. So me and this particular plus one, we were in that type of interaction, and I did not know what was going on. Uh, uh, I did not know to get away, and to get away quickly. And uh, the advice to do so from my friends and family came kind of slowly, but you usually have to arrive at that point on your own internally, especially after you start loving somebody. Because when you love somebody, you want to make things work. Long story short, she and you have to be careful of unqualified people diagnosing you. Okay, and at that time, we were in the era of the computer and the PC, and one of the things that was happening was I was being diagnosed by her. And I remember she would sit there with the computer, and at some point she came to the decision, okay, well, he has this, he has this. We need to go for a consultation to the Boston Medical Group. The Boston Medical Group was a clinic for ED and PE. Okay, so she decided he has this, even though when I voiced when we would try to do the dance, I would voice and say, well, hey, it's better for me if we do this. It's better for me if we do that. It will be helpful for me if we do this. It'd be helpful for me if we do that. A rule of thumb, if trying to work out the details of how to do the dance ends up in a fight, ends up in finger pointing. Well, no, I don't do this. You need to be ready when I'm ready. You need to do it my way. If it ends up in that, okay, that's a place you should not be. That's a place you should not be, because as a man, you need your shooter to stand up, and that's going to lead to second guessing. It's going to lead to stress, and it may lead to a spiral where you can't perform. Okay. And then if you get to a place where I think a lot of men are in marriages, I think a lot of men are in sexless marriages. Okay, where the dance is being rationed out. And if you end up in a place where it's like a tryout every time, and your performance, if you give an unsatisfactory performance, and that's going to lead to you not getting it for another month, and then another month, and then another month, that's not a place you want to be in. Okay. So long story short, we went to Boston Medical Group, and the individual who tested me said, "Okay, you don't have ED." Okay, so she insisted that I had ED. He said, "You might be a little sensitive, but you don't have ED. This medication we have for about $1,000. If you give it to us, this medication will help you out." Okay, but you have to be careful of who's diagnosing you, okay, and who's saying what you have, because with the internet, it's easy to Google something and look it up and say, okay, well, you have this. After that pairing dissolved, after it eventually dissolved, I went to go see a urologist. Okay, a urologist will not just, as a man, will not just test your ability to urinate. You just don't go there for prostate cancer. A urologist will also be able to tell you if your sexual function is adequate. So they'll measure your testosterone. They will, and there's a device. I forget the name of the device. You guys keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. There's a device that the urologist gave me to bring home, and you put it. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm sharing this. You put it on your shooter, okay, to see what your shooter does at night. So it turns out that your shooter, even when you're sleeping, even when you're not engaged in anything, even while you're sleeping, you don't know. Your shooter is going up and down even while you sleep. So this device, it measured what my shooter was doing overnight. And it turns out that even though I didn't know, my shooter was still activating night after night, even though I was sound asleep. So long story short, the urologist said, okay, well, your shooter is working fine. Your testosterone is up. You're good. He said, you might just need a different partner. You might just need a different partner. Okay. Once you emotionally invest yourself in someone, it's probably going to be hard to pull back and consider another partner if you've emotionally invested in this person. Okay. But, and it took me a little while to digest that. Is it us being together? Are we a bad match? And it turns out there are good and bad matches for doing the dance. Okay. Is it my partner? Okay. Is it her talking slick, being slick at the mouth and talking greasy? Is it the fact that we're fighting all the time? Is it the fact that uh, she's not very receptive to what I say that I need? Okay. Could it be those things? And then when I turn and I look back at my record, and this wasn't a thing years ago, because usually you met a woman, you got married, you had a family, and you all settled down and had a family and lived happily ever after, and that was it. This is new. Now this era of performance, this is new. And when I looked at my track record, I realized, wow, yeah, this problem didn't happen with her. This problem didn't happen with this person. This problem didn't happen with that person. And you know what? It was more pleasurable with this person. It was more pleasurable with that person. Okay. So that does play a role. Your partner does play a role. Now, that was the urologist. The counselor, we saw a counselor. We lasted a couple of sessions before that blew up. The counselor said something interesting to me in the aftermath of that, because this came up in the counseling sessions. Okay. And I shared here one of the things that the counselor said, which was, you might not be well suited. Most of your Black female peers may not be well suited for you. You might not make a good match with them. Okay. I shared that before, that people don't like to hear that. The other thing this counselor said, who was a Black woman, was that number one, you couldn't please her. And number two, with what was going on between you, it's not surprising that you weren't able to perform the best way for her. And she said, your biggest sexual organ is, well, let's make this participative. Guys, what's the biggest sexual organ? What's the biggest sexual organ? What do you guys think it is? UFO Kamikaze says, by the way, I'm not competing or teaming up with any toy to please a woman either. Okay. Yeah, the use of toys, that's huge now as well. UFO Kamikaze, D Scott might have beat you to it. I think he has an emoji here. That's a brain. Yep, you guys got it right. The biggest sexual organ is not between your pants, guys. It's this. It's your brain. It's what you see. Okay. It's what your lady. Okay, so it's visual. We know that men are visual. Passport OG, the question was, what's your biggest sexual organ? The answer's been given already in the chat there. But yeah, why is that? It's what you see. Okay. When you see something you like, something naturally happens inside of you. You get excited. Okay. I know what excites me, and I know what happens when I see it. I know what doesn't excite me. Okay. It's how she smells. Okay. Hygiene plays a role for both genders. Okay. And if a woman smells good, okay, and she's wearing clothes that accentuate what she has, that plays a role. What you see, what you smell, but also what you hear. Okay. Is she telling you you ain't shit? Is she telling you that was whack? Is she telling you you're not big enough? Is she telling you that wasn't long enough? Okay. What she's saying to you. Okay. What she says to you. Okay. Can play a big role in how you guys do the dance together. Okay. Does she rub on your chest? Does she rub the back of your neck? Does she tell you you're handsome? Okay. Does she flirt with other guys in front of you? Does she laud other guys and poof up other guys around you? Okay. These are all things that impact how the dance goes. Okay. These are things that weren't talked about in the Rose Sparks commercial. These are things that weren't talked about in the Hims ads. Okay. But also it's the flip side. Password OG says, Doc, should men wear deodorant? Does the musk attract them? Well, according to the book, what's the book? The master teacher said, The Alchemy of Love and Lust. Women are sensitive to scent. So this is where your fragrances come in. This is where hygiene comes in. So for men, your hygiene matters as well. And having a control over colognes and deodorants and fragrances and body oils, that plays a role as well. And that brings me to another point. Does she like you like that? Is she attracted to you like that? Because if she's attracted to you, she's going to treat you when it comes to doing the dance. She's going to behave differently towards you if she's genuinely attracted to you versus if she despises you, or if she's just there, if you're just there filling the time, or if she's just there for your dough. Does she genuinely mess with you like that? Is she genuinely attracted to you? Okay, that plays a role in your sexual chemistry, and that's something I think men need to be aware of. Okay, before you're sent out, or while you're being sent out to get this medication. Okay, And then the other thing is I have a list here. Okay, check this one off. Um, is she attracted to you? I mentioned, does she rub on your neck? Does she rub on your chest? Does she tell you you're handsome? All those things. Uh, every partner is different, and some partners, uh, just when it's time to do the dance, they just lay there. They just passively participate in the interaction. Some know what to do to get the dance going. Okay, that plays a role. Do I have to initiate this all the time? Uh, can she see that I'm ready to go? She's kind of laying there, staring off into space. Does she know? Is she interested? Am I forcing myself? These are all things that play a role in how that goes. Okay, these are things that weren't talked about in the Rose Sparks commercial. Okay, what's happening on her end? Okay, is she taking something like birth control? Dr. Dunbar, why does that matter whether or not the woman you're with is taking birth control? Well, I'm glad you asked. What are some of the side effects of birth control? Okay, birth control and vaginal dryness. Okay, vaginal dryness, whether or not a woman lubricates, that can greatly impact her sexual experience. And it could be an indicator of whether or not she's attracted to you. Okay. But if she's on birth control and she's not lubricating, there may be a connection there. Okay. If she's not in the mood and she's on birth control, there may be something else going on there. So the question is, do some forms of birth control cause vaginal dryness? I asked this to Google Gemini, and it said yes. Some forms of hormonal birth control can cause vaginal dryness as a side effect. This is primarily linked to the way hormonal contraceptives affect the body's natural hormone levels. So here, decreased estrogen levels. Estrogen plays a vital role in maintaining the moisture, thickness, and elasticity of the vaginal lining. Some hormonal birth control methods, especially those with lower doses of estrogen or certain types of progestin, can lead to lower effective levels of estrogen, resulting in dryness. Okay. Reduced testosterone. Hormonal birth control can sometimes lower the amount of circulating testosterone, a hormone that contributes to sex drive and lubrication, by increasing a protein called sex hormone binding globulin, which binds to testosterone, making it less available to the body. The issue is most commonly associated with combined oral contraceptive pills, the pill, especially low dose formulations, other hormonal methods like the patch, the ring, injection, or implant, as they also alter hormonal levels. Okay. If you are experiencing vaginal dryness and suspect your birth control is the cause, it is best to consult a healthcare professional. They can discuss potential solutions, which may include switching to a different formulation or method of birth control, using over-the-counter water-based silicone-based lubricants during sex, or using vaginal moisturizers on a regular basis to combat overall dryness. Dr. Dunbar, this live stream is about Rose Sparks and erectile dysfunction for men. Why are you reading to us about birth control? Because some of those birth control methods impact the woman's performance. And when that happens, you can end up in, it's not you, it's me. Or it could end up in, I don't feel like it tonight. Or it could end up in vaginal dryness. All these things, if there's something happening with one person, it can impact the other person. Okay. And the man is the one who has to is shooter has to stand up. Okay. So if something goes wrong, it's often the male side that gets blamed for it. Okay. So what's going on with her? These are things when I look at that Rose Sparks commercial, these are things that I think about. Okay, what are her expectations? Okay, going back to UFO Kamikaze, what's she saying to me? What's she saying to you? What is she putting into your mind, into your brain? Okay, here's another big one. Okay, around the 1990s, Passport OG, you're a Gen Xer, so you probably remember this. Okay, right around the 1990s, I'd say, post that. I don't know if our parents went through this, but there became a fascination and a preoccupation with vaginal orgasms. Okay, so one of the questions was, okay, does a woman get an orgasm? If she does, then how does she most frequently get her orgasm? Is it through penetration? Is it through rubbing of that area? Is it through fellatio? I think that's the right term, fellatio. But do women most often get their orgasm from vaginal penetration? Okay. What does the data say? Okay. And does your partner have you chasing after something that the majority of women don't experience? Vaginal orgasm versus clitoral stimulation. Question: do women normally get orgasms through vaginal penetration? Okay. Research consistently indicates that while some women can and do achieve orgasm through vaginal penetration alone, it is not the primary or most reliable way for the majority of women. Okay. Key findings include clitoral stimulation is the most reliable. For most women, the most reliable path to orgasm is through direct or indirect clitoral stimulation. Statistics on penetration alone. Studies suggest that only 18% to 30% of women report that vaginal penetration alone, without additional clitoral stimulation, is sufficient for them to orgasm. Clitoral stimulation during intercourse. A significantly higher percentage of women, around 51% to 60%, report orgasming during vaginal intercourse when it includes simultaneous clitoral stimulation. The clitoris's role. The visible part of the clitoris is only the tip of the larger organ that extends internally, which is why some women can achieve orgasm through penetration if the movement happens to stimulate the internal structures of the clitoris. In summary, a woman's ability to orgasm is highly individual, but for most, clitoral stimulation is necessary either in addition or instead of vaginal penetration. So, what in doing the dance, what are her expectations? Does she, if most women don't get orgasms through vaginal penetration, and your woman's not getting that, and she really wants that, is it you or is it the averages? And that for the most part, that's not a realistic expectation. And now you're chasing after this thing. Which is it? Okay. If you find yourself in that situation, you have to make the decision to continue to chase after that, or to say, you know what, this is not realistic based upon the averages and what we know about science. So this is not a good place for me to be. Okay. These are things, when you see those commercials about Rose Spark and hymns and man needs to do this and the man's got anxiety about that. These are things that you need to think about, because these are things that the commercial is not talking about. And most of the time, if a given interaction is not enjoyed by both people, the onus is usually put on the man. Okay. Do I have any other points here? Okay. Partner. Okay. Do you all make a good team? Okay. Not all partners are the same. And as a man, I think one of the other things you have to think about is what things can you control? Going back to what Yofo Kamikaze said about drinking water. I've talked about trying to live a healthier lifestyle, eating more fruits and vegetables, keeping your cardiovascular function on point, heart health. These are things that you can control. Getting regular exercise, getting regular rest. As a man, these are things that you can control. So it's very, very easy to say, okay, here, we need to go to this clinic and get this medication. But are there things about your personal health that you're not controlling? Okay. That would easily fix the problem. Okay. Is it the partner that you're with? Is she scrambling your brain and stressing you out, driving up your stress and anxiety level? Okay. What other things are going on besides you having to go to a clinic to get an expensive medication? I think those are all of the things that I wanted to say here. Does any of this resonate with you guys? Does any of this resonate with you guys? I'm going to read, let's see. Yofo Kamikaze says, most, okay, so modern women think that twerking is seduction. Tragic. Passport OG says, birth control has fundamentally changed women's behavior. When pregnancy is not at risk, it's different from the last 50,000 years of humans. Yeah, that goes back to what I said in terms of now we're so far away about thinking about just reproduction and proliferation. Now we're down. Now we're at how are you performing? How are you performing? Like you're in the Olympics getting a medal. How long are you going? How long are you? How long can you last? How many positions can you do? Okay, a totally different calculus than, yeah, just a totally different calculus. UFO Kamikaze says, there are a few female content creators in this space who understand the art of verbal seduction. If you know, you know. Yeah. The verbal and the mental, that makes a huge difference. Okay. Well, guys, I think I'm looking at my my notes here. I think that's all I wanted to present. So let's take a quick look at hymns before I wrap up, because I looked up hymns as well. Tony said he gets emails about that. And as I'm describing these things, keep in mind these are whole industries. These are whole industries, just like cholesterol medication, just like antidepressants, just like heart medication. This is a whole industry. They're selling. So there needs to be, if you're going to sell something, you want there to be a need for something. So what is in hymns? What is it? What's in it? The pharmacologists and toxicologists question. Please smash that like button. What is in hymns? Okay, hymns, medication, active ingredients explained. What is in the medication hymns? Okay, so it looks like, it turns out they have a couple of products. So Erectile Dysfunction is just one of them. Hymns is a telehealth company, significantly depending on the specific product and what it is treating. Common active ingredients found in medications offered by hymns include. So I'm going to focus on the erectile dysfunction and sexual health. So sildenafil, we just talked about that. Sildenafil, tadalafil. Okay, so those are the two ingredients in the rose bark. Vardenafil, so there's another one. The active ingredient in Levitra and Staxin. Okay, and then fluoxetine or sertraline, used off-label premature ejaculation active ingredients. Those are for climax control. So that's what's in Hims. Okay. Let's see. And they also have treatments for hair loss and for weight loss. Okay. And mental health. But I won't get into those right now. So these are things you're talking about when we're talking about Hims and talking about rose bars. Michael says, do you have the right partner? He says, I thought I had ED, but it turns out that the problem was my ex-wife. Haven't had a problem since. Okay. But if you put the lens on that, and that ends up being the predominant issue most of the time, then you're gonna punch a hole in the profits of these companies. Okay. They need men to say, okay, well, the problem is us. Let me go get this medication to solve it. Is it the partner you're with? Passport OG says human engineering and UFO kamikaze says bonnets are another ED trigger for me. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap this up showing a couple of books because when I was on this adventure myself 16 years ago, 16 years ago, yeah, about 16 years ago. I did a lot of reading, and your family and your friends, they hear about this, and it's distressing. It's distressing to love and care about somebody, but and to feel like you're not pleasing them, or they might up and leave. And for this one activity that's supposed to bring you closer together is doing nothing but driving you apart. Your friends and your family, they hear things and they say and they respond in different ways. My mother sent me this book. My mother's a spiritual woman, and as a spiritual woman, she sent me this book, the active marriage, the beauty of sexual love. But the premise of this book is the act of marriage. So this assumes, it's been a while since I read this, but now you're talking about Jason Wilson, Passport OG. You did some comment on Jason Wilson. Now you're talking about sex in the context of marriage. So, and the argument can be made that it was supposed to be done within the context of marriage. Well, how many folks are doing that today? And then once you get into your marriage, just because you're married, does this issue go away? Is marriage the end all and the be all for this issue, for sexual problems? It seems that married couples deal with these things as well. Let's see. I'm going to come back to this one. I got this book is in my library, Dr. Ruth's The Top 10 Secrets for Great Sex. Okay, I did pick this up. I think I got partway through it. I was trying to absorb everything I could get my hands on. Here's another one by Dorian Salat and Marshall Miller. I love the female orgasm. Okay, so this is a white fella and a white woman. He looks a little, well, let's see. So they're not married. They weren't married. Marshall Miller and Dorian Salat are nationally known sex educators who specialize in teaching about female orgasm. Over the last 8 years, they've presented over 300 funny educational programs at colleges, conferences, and adult education centers. Graduates of Brown University, Marshall and Dorian's media appearances include ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, The O'Reilly Factor, National Public Radio, The New York Times, USA Today, Time, Men's Health, Cosmo, and hundreds of other newspapers, radio, and television shows. Okay, so they were thought leaders thought leaders, quote unquote, on the female orgasm. Chaos Rain is coming in here at the end. I wonder what he thinks about the female orgasm. Passport OG says, Black women are way more about pleasing our partners than other men. You know what, Passport OG, we run in some of the same circles. That's interesting. I've heard that as well. And with us, there definitely is a high premium on performance. Okay. And hitting it literally out of the park. Guys, some of you know that I finished in the last year. I finished "Awakening the Master Masculine" by Master Yao, and he getting to what UFO Kamikaze said there about what do you say? He says there are a few female content creators in this space who understand the art of verbal seduction. If you know, you know. Yeah. So there is a sister book to this called Awakening the Master Feminine. And one of the arguments that Master Yao at least makes in this book is that, doing the dance, there's a female role in that. And part of her role is creating a safe space, creating a welcoming space for her partner. Okay, making it a place of intimacy, making it a place of honing her powers of seduction. Okay, there's a female role in that. So that's why I said earlier, as a man, you need to be able to gauge whether or not she really messes with you like that, whether or not she really likes you, or if you're there just passing the time, or if she has those powers of seduction, or if you're having to initiate all the time. Have you maximized your attraction, your SMV, your sexual market value? Does your body look good? Do you smell good? Are you dressed well? How do you feel about yourself? These are all things that you need to think about. So, Chaos Rain says, no, I think that means maybe he doesn't have any thoughts on female orgasms. Michael says, great book by Master Yao. Yep, a lot of valuable information in there. And then Passport OG says, one reason Japanese men are intimidated by Black women. Oh, they are. I didn't know that. All right, guys. This I think that brings us to the end of this one. But that's a discussion on Rose Sparks, medications for erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, and other considerations that these companies and these marketers don't talk about. Okay, in terms of this, but there's a whole market for this, and so maybe it's in their best interest not to talk about what's happening on the female side of this. So, but both parts do play a role. If you're watching on the replay, gang, let me know what you think about any of this. Do you have any thoughts on any of this? Thank you to you guys in the chat who came and hung out, and let me know what you think, what you thought about this, and thank you for sharing your experiences. This is this thing, especially when you get into a relationship or a marriage, and this part of it falls off or it gets dysfunctional. Yeah, that can become a real cluster. Okay. And when the finger pointing starts and it's you, no, it's you, no, it's you, no, it's you, it can become a real cluster, a real stressor. It can lead to people splitting. It can lead to people stepping out. It can lead to stress, drinking, drugs, all kinds of things. but we're definitely living in a much different world than we were even 40 to 50 years ago. All right, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. This is Big Discussion 76, Science and Technology. If any of you guys want to make a donation on the playback, that would be appreciated. Yeah, I probably won't do something next weekend because I'll be traveling and taking care of some family business. But so you likely won't see me here. But definitely thank you to you guys who came and hung out in the chat and told me what you thought and told me about some of your experiences and partook in this. And if you guys have topics that you want to hear about, I kind of pick these things up out of the air. I mean, it's about time to get into, get Nameless to come back and continue talking about the mouse utopia. And if I can get Dr. Patrick Dix to come back to talk about what's happening with the AI and the number of people who are going to get laid off, and see if I can get Theo and Jules to talk about cloud engineering. I definitely have some other things that I want to do. But if there are other things you guys want to hear about, certainly let me know. So I'll see you guys on the YouTube streets. This is one of many channels on my main channel. In the next in about 2 weeks, I'll be talking with Dr. Ronald Neal about his book, Beyond Death in Jail. So that should be fun. And then the week after that, I have Jeff St. James, and our topic is to be announced. But you guys know that I have a book. I wrote a book. I'm selling signed copies. Thank you to Money Motion and Royston and all the guys who bought copies. I'm selling signed copies, the paperback for $22 and the hardcover for $25. Just use one of those methods in the ticker. Those are in the description box as well. But I'll also send me your mailing address so I know where to send it. But it's a basketball story, but a lot of the themes that I talked about, some of the themes I talked about today are actually in this book. And that's that, what do you know? And what you know can often save you and rescue you. And if there are important things that you don't know, well, you may end up in some very disadvantageous and toxic situations. So a lot of your success in life is going to be about what you know and who's in your circle and who's coaching you through certain things. And your sex life is one of those things. Is one of those things. And I think that's a good place to stop. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I will talk to you all again sometime in the near future. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. And as scientists out there, if you run into situations like this or others, ask questions, do the research. Don't just take things at face value. Don't just allow someone to diagnose you without doing your own research and your own homework. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.